Hey guys, what is up? Another video after a long break, after I promised that I'd be making videos like 2 times a week. I don't think I have time to do that. But this video is going to be about me having a personal project of making my own monitor stands. I've added 2 new speakers to my arsenal. They're 2 really thick Atom F7s. Pretty expensive for, you know, someone who doesn't have money like me. Not only the speakers, but also the cables and the power cables, and I have to buy an interface now. It's all really expensive. So the last thing I want to be spending more money on is monitor stands, because, you know, I can look online for some monitor stands. I have some. They're $50 for the cheapest ones that I could find, but they look really bad, and $50 is still a lot of money to be paying for something that I can just put something else on. So I've decided that I'm going to try to make my own monitor stands. Construct them out of wood and design them myself, and, you know, try and save a lot of money. I think it could be done much easier and cheaper than buying them and spending hard-earned cash on useless stuff when I could be spending it on, you know, important stuff. Let's cut to the chase, and I'm going to show you my designs. You guys can use the designs. It's a very simple design, but it's something I would recommend for monitor speakers and monitor stands if you don't want to spend that much money and you want to end up with something that looks nice and natural. Here you can see my speakers already propped up on chairs behind me. Now obviously that isn't that good. You're going to want to have the speakers in front of you. You're going to want to have the tweeter be on ear level from where you're sitting. So that's going to be really important when determining how high you want to make the stand itself. But obviously I don't want to have these behind me and, you know, that low. So let's see what we can do. So here we can see the designs. I've already sketched out some concepts. This is the design I ended up on. Can't really see it here, but it works in my brain. A little bit of Pythagorean theorem here. My phone's going off. And a little bit of numbers over there. Pretty easy. I've been looking at my speaker dimensions to make sure it fits, but I mean, like, that only depends on the, you know, speaker, how big you make the board on the top. So it depends on the speaker you're using. I'm going with these numbers. Should be pretty good for most small speakers. But yeah, I'm gonna try and put this on SketchUp so it won't be as cluttered and a bit more overseeable. So here we are in SketchUp. I have a little time lapse of me building the design in the background. So everything in this project altogether was under 30 euros. And it was pretty simple to make. What I use here is a very simple V shape instead of a parallel shape because it adds more stability. You don't want everything wobbling all over the place, and it looks much nicer once you've actually built it. And everything has been measured by the millimeter here in this program. But of course, if you don't have the exact same boards as I use here, as listed in the little pop-up things I have here, you can improvise. Just make sure that it all is symmetrical and it works. Of course, since everyone's height is different, you're going to want to measure the distance from the bottom of the speaker to the tweeter of the speaker and subtract that from the distance between the floor and your ear, so you can really get the tweeter on ear level. You're going to have to know this distance so you know how long you're going to make the middle beams or the support boards in the middle. Also make sure to take into account the thickness of the top and bottom floorboards and subtract that also. I forgot to do that. But I mean, of course, it's not too tragic. Lastly, I'll have all the information concerning the measurements I made and the materials I used and the lengths and all that stuff down in the description. The only tools I really used were a handsaw and a screwdriver, maybe a drill to help me drill it in a little further. And yeah, hopefully I can get the SketchUp file in there too, and that would be even better. But otherwise, you can use the measurements that you see in the video. Alright, I've went to the store and bought some building materials. Here we go. I had to change the length of the board a little bit because they didn't have the board that I wanted, but it's just got a little thicker and a little wider. And thanks to Jan for lending me this great saw, because I don't have my own that really works well, and I got some screws. So I'm going to get to marking everything with a pencil and then gonna, you know, get to building. Alright, to start off, I'm using this wood plank that I got here. And I'm just cutting it down in the middle, exactly 1 meter from both sides. First thing to do is to cut the wood down into 2 equal lengths of 1 meter in my case. Unless you're lucky enough to buy them pre-cut from the store, you're gonna have to do this. After you're done cutting, you should definitely sandpaper all the edges and the corners to make sure that there aren't any splinters or anything that could possibly damage your hand or look really ugly and nasty. If you have the paint and the time, I would highly recommend staining your wood. Staining your wood gives it a very personalized touch and also adds a little bit of extra protection and doesn't make it look like it was wood that was just bought from the store. So I would highly recommend doing that. If you do it, make sure to give it enough time because it takes some time to dry and it takes a lot of space. So while those set aside to dry, the next thing to do would be to cut the top and floorboard here for the speaker to stand on and for the whole thing to stand on. Again, make sure you cut 2 equal pieces, unless you're able to buy them pre-cut, into 2 pieces of 25 by 30, should work for most speakers, and make sure to get an equal cut again. Important thing, again, is to sandpaper down the corners and the edges to make sure that there's no nasty splinters and nothing that would make it look crooked. This is even more important because these are the exposed edges that are going to be at the top, so you don't want those to look really uneven or anything like that. So now for the reason why we made all those markings, you're going to want to mark each face of each board with one side with the places where you're going to put the screws and the other side of the places, the lines that show where you should align the support boards when you start screwing them on. I would put the screws in a little bit already before you even put them on the boards, just so it makes it easier. You're also going to want to put a little bit of wood glue between the 2 things to stop it from sliding around and make it easier when you screw everything in. So the whole trick is to try and align the boards with the little mark you made. Of course, you don't have to make it perfect. It's pretty hard to try and juggle it all together. But make sure to add a little bit of glue under it and yeah, get the screw in. So make sure to screw in all the screws where they're supposed to be and align all the boards properly. Do this for both the top and the floorboard. It's the same on each side. Voila, you'll end up with a very stable and very nice looking custom studio monitor stand. So the whole process took me about 12 hours across 2 days. Though it could be done much faster since I was very distracted, and with better tools you can probably cut the wood much faster. Everything was under 30 euros altogether for the wood. It was just 2 planks of long wood and 2 boards that I cut down into shape, and it was very fun, and I'm really pleased with having the speakers on a very nice looking stable stand that I made myself and saved money on.